You step into a clearing and it is completely empty. No deer, no birds, no movement. You assume they just aren't there. That's not what happened. The clearing didn't empty out by chance. It was evacuated. And it happened long before you even saw the tree line. Something told them you were coming. Not a sound you made, not a scent the wind carried. Something much older and entirely invisible. Most people think of a forest as a collection of objects. Trees standing next to bushes, animals moving independently between them, each creature relying solely on its own eyes and ears to survive. We imagine wildlife operating in a bubble of their own senses. You break a twig, and if an animal is close enough to hear it, it runs. If it isn't, you remain undetected. We believe stealth is just a matter of moving quietly. That is an illusion. You have never sneaked up on a wild animal in your life. The forest is not a collection of independent objects. It is a synchronized biological machine, an integrated network of surveillance processing data in real time. When you step off a paved road and onto the soil, you are not just entering an environment, you are logging into a system, and the system recognizes immediately that you are a disruption. Start with the canopy, the birds. When a human walks through the woods, they focus on the ground, trying not to snap branches, trying to keep their breathing steady. They ignore the songbirds, but the songbirds are not ignoring them. In the field of acoustic ecology, researchers study a phenomenon called Heterospecific Eavesdropping. It is the process by which entirely different species monitor each other's communication to build a comprehensive map of threats in their environment. When you take your first 10 steps into the woods, a sentinel bird, a chickadee, a titmouse, a jay, spots you. It doesn't just fly away, it issues an alarm call. But this isn't a generic scream of panic. It is encoded data. Studies on the vocalizations of the Parrotidae family have shown that their alarm calls contain strict, measurable syntax. The number of notes, the frequency, and the spacing of the chirps convey specific information about the size, speed, and threat level of the predator. They are broadcasting your exact coordinates. But the birds aren't just talking to each other. Every mammal in the forest knows the language. Squirrels, chipmunks, deer, rabbits. They have evolved the neurological architecture to intercept and decode bird alarms. The moment the jay calls, a ripple of acoustic data pushes outward at the speed of sound. The squirrel 100 yards away hears the bird, stops foraging, and issues its own corresponding alarm. The deer 400 yards away hears the squirrel, raises its head, and alters its movement path. You haven't even walked 50 feet yet. You are moving at 3 miles an hour. But the warning of your arrival is moving at 760 miles an hour, a shockwave of information preceding you, radiating outward in a massive circle. By the time you reach the center of the woods, every living thing within a half-mile radius has already run a threat assessment on you. They didn't see you. They didn't need to. The network did it for them. And that is just the air. The ground is doing something far more complex. Every step you take compresses the soil. You weigh somewhere between 130 and 200 pounds, a massive point of pressure crashing down on a delicate micro-ecosystem. Beneath the dead leaves lies a dense, interconnected mat of plant roots and mycorrhizal fungi. When your hiking boot crushes a root or shreds a patch of undergrowth, the plants do not die quietly, they bleed chemically. Injured plants immediately release a burst of chemicals known as green leaf volatiles, or GLVs. It is a chemical scream. This isn't a metaphor. It is a localized chemical transmission released into the air and pushed down into the fungal network. We think of scent as something animals use to track prey, but the forest uses scent as a diagnostic report. The specific blend of volatile organic compounds released by crushed foliage tells the surrounding environment exactly what is happening. Herbivores living downwind don't just smell broken plants. They smell a massive, heavy, bipedal anomaly crushing vegetation in a linear path. To a deer's olfactory bulb, the chemical trail you leave behind is a glowing neon sign pointing directly at you. You think you are standing perfectly still, hiding behind a tree, waiting for nature to reveal itself. But your very presence is actively saturating the air with the chemical footprint of destruction. The environment itself is betraying you. Then there is the silence. Apex predators, wolves, bears, mountain lions, sit at the top of the hierarchy. They possess hearing and smell that defy human comprehension. But often, they don't locate humans by listening for our heavy footsteps or our voices. They locate us by listening to the absence of everything else. Ecologists refer to this as a landscape of fear. It is a physical zone of influence that predators and anomalies project around themselves. When you move through the woods, the localized alarm calls eventually stop as animals flee or freeze. What replaces them is a dead zone, a rolling vacuum of absolute silence that moves exactly at the speed of your walking pace. A bear miles away doesn't need to hear you breaking a branch. It simply listens to the grand acoustic baseline of the forest, the distant chatter, the hum of insects, the rustle of foraging herbivores. And then it notices a void, a sphere of silence 200 yards wide, moving steadily north. The bear's brain runs a pattern recognition sequence. Natural occurrences like wind or rain affect the entire landscape at once. Predators like cougars stalk slowly, creating narrow, stealthy disruptions. But a massive, loud, steady void moving directly through the terrain, that is a human. The signature is unmistakable. The bear alters its course. It adjusts its territory. It shifts its entire daily schedule to ensure its path never intersects with the anomaly. You walk for 3 hours. You see a handful of trees, some moss, maybe a single beetle on a leaf. You return to your car, convinced that the forest was asleep today, convinced that nature is just an empty, quiet place. You had it completely backward. The forest wasn't empty, it was quarantined. From the moment you stepped out of your vehicle, you triggered a cascading biological shutdown. The birds broadcasted your metrics, the mammals intercepted the data, the plants bled chemical warnings into the soil. The apex predators read the silence you created and routed themselves around you. You didn't experience the forest, you experienced the forest's defense mechanism against you. We go into the wilderness to connect with nature. We put on specialized gear, we speak in whispers, and we tell ourselves that we are visitors entering a sanctuary. We believe that if we are respectful enough, the natural world will accept us. But the biology doesn't care about our intentions. To the 500 million years of evolutionary programming running in the background of every leaf, bird, and predator, we are not visitors. We are an extinction-level event that learned how to walk. There is no template for us in the natural order. We don't fit the rhythm, we break it. And so, the forest does what it must to survive us. It watches, it warns, it clears the path. It ensures that wherever we go, we remain entirely, completely alone.